right. Hello. Happy Sunday. Welcome to week 17. Time is flying by. Hope you guys have had a great weekend. It's been a nice weekend here, nice and sunny, warm but not too hot yet. So we're happy about that. So we're keeping busy, keeping the beading thing going along. I'm working hard to get your next offers of it ready. Still working on the metal mix, but we do have the bead mix and the cards. So maybe I'll have to see when I can get that metal mix ready. But I would say no later than the middle of May, we'll definitely start taking orders for our new Southwest Desert themed bead mixes and cards. So I'll be excited to start using those. So maybe June 1st. Hey, Janelda. Maybe at the beginning of June, I will shuffle the new deck into my decks and we'll start using those. So that'll be a lot of fun. On other announcements, you hopefully saw that I've started putting some of the videos over on YouTube. I said I wasn't going to do it, but you know what? It turns out that Facebook has modified the way to do it, and it's way easier than it used to be. So I am not transferring over all of them. I'm trying to transfer over the ones that I think were particularly like unique things that I made, or you know, if there was some particular technique that we were discussing or any of that stuff. So I do have a list of about maybe 10 more that I'm going to do. And starting for April, I will, which I'm going backwards the last couple weeks, but I am going to start putting these over there as we do them. So again, if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. I would love to be able to, in the future, broadcast on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so I don't have to transfer the videos, because then they will be kept over on Facebook or on YouTube already with all the descriptions. So anyways, appreciate that. If you're catching the replay, please let me know you're out there. Hope you're off doing something fun. I realize Sundays are busy days for many people. You know, some people see it as a day of rest. When I was working, it was always my busiest day of the week, because I was trying to do laundry, I was trying to cook, I was trying to get everything ready so that when I went back to work, I could just work and come home and not do anything. So I totally get that Sundays are busy. So anyways, so today we're going to draw cards to see what our week 17 project is going to be. And then, because I haven't played with my April Showers Bargain bead box for this month, we're going to use our Bead Stash challenge deck and make a project from that. So I don't know what we're going to make, because we're going to draw the cards and then we're going to pick something out to make live. So again, I am not a salesperson for Bargain Bead Box. It's just something I've tried, and you know, it's got a nice collection of stuff, so it's easy to show how it works with the cards. But let's go ahead and flip it over. Let's do our week 17 drawing. And oh, gotta zoom now that we can make that happen. Stop that. It's giving me a hard time today. Sorry about all this. All right. You know what? I may just... There we go. Well, good enough. All right. I'll move my I'll move my stand. There we go. Sorry about all that. Hopefully not making you dizzy. So anyways, Bead Stash Challenge. We have 3 different types of cards which help us with our creativity, helps get us out of ruts. It helps you know, just make our design capabilities better. You know, you can come up with some really unique things. Those of you that have been watching all along know I've made some things that I never would have made. So anyways, so the first kind of card we have is the make cards. So our make cards are just that. It tells us what we're going to make this week. So I'm going to make a tassel. Now, I can just make a tassel, or I can make a tassel and use it in a necklace, earrings, whatever it is I end up making. The second kind of cards are use cards, and these are going to tell me what to pull from my stash to use in my project. And, you know, the idea of these is that you will use things that you forgot you had, or you will dig through and it'll remind you of things, and then, you know, you may go off and make something, because that happens to me all the time. I'll find things I was like, oh, I need to work with that. Now, if you're fairly new to beading and you don't have something that's on one of these cards, just set the card aside and draw a new card. And if you're new, you can draw just one card, or you can draw multiple cards. I draw 3. So we're going to use square or cube beads in your on my design. We are going to use flexible beading wire in our design. So flexible beading wire, SoftFlex is one of the brands, the main brand that's out there these days. So just, you know, this is the bendable beading wire, but you can use whatever brand you have. All right. And the third thing we're going to use is a focal bead in our design. So I think that's all doable in, I'm going to turn these right side up for you guys here, in our tassel, right? So our third type of cards is challenge cards. And these are designed to help you, again, push your design, you know, your design capability out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? So, you know, I know the first few years I did beading, pretty much I only made earrings, the occasional bracelet, but all my earrings almost looked exactly the same. They had similar components, they were the same length, same size. And, you know, now I'm finding that I'm making a lot of different things, and these cards are pushing me out of doing the same thing over and over again. So my challenge card today is to do something using neutral colors. So we're going to make a tassel. We're going to use square or cube beads. We're going to use focal bead. We're going to use flexible beading wire in our design, and we're going to design something using neutral colors. So these challenge cards can be something, you know, like this, it's colors, or it can be some design aspect that you have to do. But, you know, it's just to kind of shake things up a little bit, get those juices flowing, get you thinking about things a little differently. So that's what we are going to work with this week. And also, as a reminder, if you're new, so we have 4 decks currently. Deck 1 is the one you have to start with, okay? So it has all 3 types of cards. And it's basic. It also has the directions, which I do not include in the other cards so that I can have more cards. But we have 3 other decks, and now our 4th one is coming out this month. The 3 other decks that are currently available, we have one that's called our color deck, and it adds everything color. So if you're one of those people that always makes things the same color, and I know I do that, I always have to catch myself when I go bead shopping. I will like have a color in my mind, and I will just kind of buy a bunch of stuff that color and not think about expanding. So the color deck helps you use more color combinations, different things that you might not gravitate to. You know, and if you're selling stuff, you know, granted you want to sell stuff that you are proud of and you are attracted to, but you know, some people like different colors. I have friends that have favorite colors that are brown, that are yellow, that are orange, you know, and things that I would have never used in my designs before. But anyway, so that's our color deck. We also have our Sun and Sea expansion. Now the Sun and Sea expansion has cards from all three types of cards, so you could use it by yourself, and it's things all sunny, summery vacation, think of all that kind of stuff. And then our third deck that was available was our non-jewelry and findings deck. Now the non-jewelry and findings deck has mostly use cards and make cards, so you're learning to make things like you might be making decorative head pins. So this was our example from not last week, the week before last. So I made sort of jellyfish head pins. So that was, and then I wire wrap them onto my design. It might have you make a clasp. It might have you make, you know, a key fob, which this also is, or purse things, all sorts of keychains. Anyways, that's our non-jewelry and findings deck. And it also makes sure that you're digging those findings out of your stash and not just your beads, okay? Because most of us have both. So the new deck is our Desert Southwest expansion deck. It's very similar to the Sun and Sea deck in that it has all three types of cards. So it has some new things to make that are sort of what I consider Southwesty themed things. It has things to use that are kind of go along with those cards, and then it also has challenge cards that go along with that Southwest theme. So hopefully you guys get excited about that, because I know many people get excited every year when Tucson runs around and everybody's like, oh, I want to do Southwest stuff. Well, this deck will help you do it year round. So those are coming. So all right, let's get on with our project. You got my sales tips in for the day. So Bargain Bead Box, if you haven't heard of it, which I will fully admit that I had not until about 8 months ago, maybe. So for like $23 or something, they do have charge tax now, you get a bag of beads, and there's always findings, there's usually chain, there's usually clasps, there's crystals, there's gemstones. So it's a nice collection of stuff, and it comes with a theme. So when I use the Bead Stash Challenge deck with something like this, I only use deck 1 because it's more generic. And I also don't necessarily use a challenge card, although, like I said, some of the challenge cards are design challenges versus like a theme, because these come with a theme already. So like this one is April showers, so we have things like these cute little umbrellas. We have clouds, lots of clouds, but it's super cute. So, and even lightning bolts, right? So we can have a little summer, April storm. Although we don't really get the lightning around here until it heats up. So, but anyways, let's see what we're gonna make today. So these are just the cards from the base deck. When I did my drawing earlier, those are the cards from all 4 of the original decks, okay? Minus the Southwest deck, which is coming out. All right, let's see what we're gonna make today. So we're gonna make a pair of earrings, all right, or an ear cuff. And we could go ahead and just, that might be enough to push us if we're just going to use what's in this kit and not use stuff from our stash. But let's draw some cards and see if what we draw works with what's in the kit, okay? All right, so use flexible beading wire. We can do that. Use shaped beads. There's lots of shaped beads in this kit. There's teardrops, there's briolets, I guess everything. And there's rondelles, but we have rounds and rondelles. Oh, and we have these cylinder crystals too. Although some people would consider that a rondelle, so think about it. And then use gemstones. So all of those actually work with this kit, so we can do that. And then, you know, we can draw a challenge card. We'll draw a challenge card and see if it works. Like I said, since these are it's a theme already in this kit, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, make a clasp the focal point of your design. All right, I'm not going to do that for my pair of earrings. Now, you know, I would take that as a challenge potentially in my other one, but since there's only one clasp in here and I really don't want to use it in earrings, I'm not going to use it. So we'll draw another one. So make a design inspired by the current season. Well, you know, considering it's April and this is designed to be an April thing, I think that works, right? So we are going to do that. And I just realized, oh, that's okay. So one thing, these kits do come with a number of findings, but they don't usually come with things like ear wires. So we do have to either make those or pull them out of our stash. Let's see about this flexible beading wire. Kind of had some earrings in mind that I don't think I'm going to do with the flexible beading wire requirement, but could do something else here. Might want to do a cloud charm. I have this darling little cloud carved shells. I really want to use those in something. I don't need the chain. Can use the we have some just silver beads. We also have you know, this pair of cute little umbrellas. I think I'm going to use the clouds instead of the umbrellas. There's also a set of chandelier clouds we could use. We could use those. You know, that could be fun. Maybe we won't need the cloud charms after all. Let me think about this a minute. Okay. So I may still use these crystal rondelles. Just because it says I have to use something else, it doesn't mean I have to completely use something else, okay? So gemstone wise, we've got our choice of, we have some teardrop shapes, so that would certainly do our shape requirement. We've got some rounds, we've got some rondelles, so if we use those, we have to use something else along with it. We have briolets. I don't think I want to use the briolets, but we also have some crystal teardrops. Oh, and we have bead caps if we want to use those. And we have some blue crystals and some peachy crystals. Kind of go along with that. We'll see. I find that, in my opinion, not everything, at least in my lighting, goes together. So, but you can mix and match them, and it gives you lots of different looks and options. So, all right. So I'm gonna make a pair of earrings using these cute little cloud chandelier pieces. So chandelier means it usually has more than one hole or place to attach things along the bottom and one on the top that'll attach to the earring. So for gemstones in this particular kit, I have to use, you know, one of these 3 packages because that's what came with the gemstones, right? But so I don't think I want the blue. Go ahead and use these and not save the rondelles. Let's see if we need those. All right, let's see. All right, we've got that. We got dangles, and so since I have to use flexible beading wire, what I'm thinking is I can do, you know, just a dangle from each of those, which means I can have 2 things with beads on them hanging down, and we'll use crimps to hold them on there. So we need our crimper, we need a cutter, again, these teardrops will be cute, maybe hanging off those. So I'm gonna have end up having 4 dangles per earring, okay? So maybe we'll pull those off to make 1 earring at a time. We'll also look at these crystal teardrops. Or are these right? Yeah, they're teardrops. Set those aside. And the question is, do I want more sparkle? Can you ever have too much sparkle, right? I think the answer to that is no, correct? Now, these ones have some nice AB spacer beads too that we can work with as well if we want to use those. So, you know, everything's available for use that comes in your bag, right? There's lots of variety here. So. All right, so let's take, and we're just beading on the fly here, so, because I hadn't really thought about this because I didn't know what I was going to draw, right? So I am going to draw or cut a couple of 4-inch pieces of wire. And you know, if you keep the leftovers after you make like a bracelet or design, you might already have some leftover pieces in your available to you. So what I'm thinking is, you know, putting it through the bottom of one of these attachments and just bending it in the middle. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle because you know, sometimes it's a cooler look if they're not quite the same length. Now I've got the option of, you know, just putting things on the dangle or putting something up top. I think I'm going to just put things below. So what I want to do is get a couple of crimps out here, and I'm going to thread a crimp through both of these ends of this wire through. I really need to pull out some new crimps. These ones, I'm looking forward to using them up. They were, I think they I got them on the outlet site, so they're not exactly the best consistency that you usually get with these crimps. And I'm using SoftFlex medium. You know, you could certainly use fine or even heavy duty if that's what you got. Just make sure you have the right size crimp to go with it. So I'm using a 2x2 crimp, which I just flattened the end. And I'm purposely making these slightly different lengths, right? And then I am just gonna pull this up. And I have the start of my dangle. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp this. I'm going to use the magic crimper today, so make sure my wire's not twisted. And you set it into the divot and you squeeze, you get your ravioli, and then you turn it 90 degrees and squish it again. And then just keep moving it around and squeezing. Just be careful to make sure you keep that crimp in that divot, because that's how you make it look like a little bead. All right, so now let's see what we want to dangle off here. So, you know, sometimes they say like 3 things makes appeals to the eye. Now, we only have room, you know, it depends on how much you know, how much I want this to move around. So I could put like these 3 things on each of these ends, and it'll be quite danglier and shiny. I kind of like that, actually. So since I only have one width of wire here, you can either like stick an extra piece through there and then make sure you cut it so that it stays. Let's see if I have. Need some medium. Oh, the long piece. I'm going to stick another piece through here so that I can crimp that and feel comfortable that my crimp is going to stay. So, you know, I don't want much sticking out, but you need a little bit, and then you can trim it so that you have something to attach it to. All right, so again, I'm going to stick it in the divot, crimp, turn 90, and then again, just go around it until you get a nice bead looking thing. I have a magnetic clasp on my bracelet, and it's attaching to other things. So, all right, so now my extra piece that I stuck in here, I am going to try to trim it as close to the bead as I can, or the crimp. And we do that on both sides. It's also attaching to my magnetic thing. And I'll adjust the length of that, but you know, there's our first leg. And I think I'm gonna just do that, and I'm going to have it dangle down just a little further. So let's put the crimp on there. Now you could have made, you know, if you made your links the same length, or your legs, whatever, your dangles the same length, it's fine. You could still adjust where you put the crimp and the beads to the length that you desire. So, all right, divot ravioli time. I don't know why I'm working off the screen so much. Turn 90. And then, like I said, just turn it until it's tight on there. You know, using bead wire in this case, it's a little quicker than wire wrapping, so. Oop. You know what? I just trimmed the wrong one, but that's okay. I can just trim this one where I want it. Was not paying attention there. See, you guys, when you see things live, you never know what's going to happen, right? All right, so there's one dangle. And, you know, sort of like teardrops coming down, or raindrops. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So somewhere, oh, I just realized I used my used my 4-inch piece of wire. So let me cut another one. So I'm starting out with the same length. Okay. And it just fell off my leg. There we go. All right, so again, we're gonna put it through the ring on here. I'm gonna make these ends slightly offset. I'm going to add a crimp bead. And pull that up. And again, we're going to just crimp that one up here. And now we just do the same thing of putting our beads on, our little raindrops, right? So, assuming you guys watched the other day, I had to make something hurricane theme, and I did use briolets in there. Now these aren't the ones, these are the same size as the ones in the kit. I didn't pull them out of the kit, but we have our hurricane pendant, which we will be able to wear with our earrings, you know, if we want. All right, let's put that on, and then let's stick our second one through just to make our lives easier. I think I made these a little shorter this time, but I'm not too concerned about it. All right. Ravioli, 90 degrees, and then we just twist and squeeze until we get those ends tight around the side, which we have not done here. I am not very good at holding this while I turn, so I apologize for going off the screen. All right, here we got our crimp on there. And you know, I don't actually have to trim the one that goes into the, on the top, because it disappears into the bead. So we've got that one on there, and then let's get this other one on here. And oops. Let's pull that on there. And I am going to, again, put the second one through. Now, if you wanted, you could just squish these crimps using your pliers. You don't have to use the magic crimper. Just depends on what look you're going for. All right, set it in the divot, squeeze, turn sideways, squeeze. Does not look like, yeah, it did connect. So again, I want to trim this off, and so we've got our raindrops coming down from there. So let's put something above that. All right, so put stuff off to the side. So I was debating whether I want to use whether I wanted to make just decorative ear wires, or if I want to do something. I think we'll do decorative ear wires. How's that? All right. Let me put this crimp back in there so I don't lose it, because those tend to disappear on my workspace. So, all right, so we're gonna make our own ear wires. So I'm gonna use 20 gauge SoftFlex. I like to make 20 gauge ear wires. A lot of them you buy are thinner. I like mine with a little bit of weight. So we're going to make our own ear wire. Now, if you want to make a decorative ear wire, you have to add a little more room onto your thing. So I do about 2¼ inches of wire for one ear wire. Okay, sorry, I didn't think about the fact that I was making ear wires, so I didn't get my stuff out. I like to get a small file. You could use a nail file probably, just to make that so it's not sharp, because you don't want it poking into your ear, right? I just want to make sure it's not, your edge isn't rough from, you know, being cut. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to use my my 6 size mandrel, and I'm going to take the smallest one size, and I'm going to make a loop. So you want to put that end as much in the middle as you can, because you want it to be round, right? Otherwise you end up with a straight part. So I've got that loop, so that's what attaches to the earrings. since I'm making these decorative, that means I'm adding a bead. So I'm going to bend this so that the loop is facing up so it looks like an eye pin. Then I'm going to put my bead on. Now, I like the opening facing the back side, so I want my ear wire loop to go the opposite direction. And I am going to initially just bend this a little bit so it's got the right length or the right width. Now, I would use one of the two larger ones, and it really just depends on how big you like your loops. We'll use the second one, and so what I'm going to do is just stick it on at the top of the bead, and I'm going to use my hand to pull that wire around, and now we have the top of the ear wire. Now you'll want to, hey Veronica, so that your bead doesn't try to shift, I like to put an extra twist in there so that it can't fit over it. Now also, so you can decide, I used 2 1/4 inches, but depending on what size bead you're going to use, it may be longer than you want. I tend to like the back to kind of line up with the bottom, so I am going to trim a little bit off of there. And remember, we got to file it again. We're making some cloudy April showers earrings, okay? And then I also like to just put a little bend in the back of my ear wires so that they're less likely to come off, right? And as I've shown before, I like to take a hammer and put this on my little board. Now, if you don't have a hammer, you can squeeze real hard in using some flat pliers. Just be careful not to hit your bead. So you want to do both loops. And I also do the back because I use rubber stoppers on my earrings because there's nothing I hate worse than losing an earring. I don't know why. It's one of my my pet peeves, right? I don't want to lose an earring, so I wear bead stoppers like all the time, or the plastic or the rubber stoppers on my earrings so that I don't lose them. So that helps it not bend when you go to put it on. So, all right, so I'm going to, again, you turn your loop sideways, and then let's make sure we put our clouds going the right direction. That's the front of the earring. And then I'm going to close this up. I'm going to kind of rock it back and forth to line it up. So the rocking helps you do sort of a gentle motion. It also actually helps stiffen your wire too. So what do you think? There we have our April Showers earring. I think because that took a while, I will make the second one and then post the picture, but hopefully you guys like that project. I'm actually pretty happy with that. All right, I will make the other one and post the picture, and I will post the video on YouTube. So let me flip off whatever earrings I have. We'll put this one on so you can see it on me, and then like I said, I'll make the second one and post that. All right, so there we go. We have our April showers earring. Those are fun. Nice and sparkly, huh? So, okay. Well, like I said, I will post that. Just as a reminder, if you haven't already, please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook. Share us, comment, or make some likes on our video. That always helps. We're also on Instagram. Haven't done a whole lot on Instagram. I don't think I have enough followers over there either. And we're on YouTube. And like I said, starting this for the April month, our videos will now be on YouTube. And I am putting some of the older ones, but I'm only doing like I said, specific projects that I think kind of had techniques that people want to go back and watch, or projects that you know, may not make again, like my umbrella sun catcher, which is one of the ones I'm going to be transferring over in the next day or so. You know, we did something a little different last year, so that is definitely one of them I'm transferring over. So hopefully, if you haven't already, you'll subscribe to us on YouTube. That would help us out. I need to get to 50 subscribers over there before I can broadcast on both systems at the same time. So just any help would be appreciated. Why are my comments are way behind? Hopefully you guys aren't having any troubles with the video. So, because I'm seeing the comments on my second one, but I'm not seeing the comments on my phone. Anyways, okay, that's where we're at today. We will be back on Thursday, which Thursday's May 1st. So you've got till Thursday to get your entries in for this month's giveaway, which is going to be a surprise because I still haven't figured out what I want to give away. But anyways, if you haven't posted anything this month, you have through midnight on April 30th, and that's midnight Pacific time, to make a post and get in for our random drawing that we will do on Thursday, when we will be making a tassel. We'll be using square or cube beads in our design. We'll be using flexible beading wire, which we showed how we're doing that today. We'll be using a focal bead in our design, and we'll be using neutral colors for our tassel. So that's what we will be doing on Thursday, in addition for drawing for our April giveaway. So hope you all have time to be creative this week. Have a great week. Anyways, doing whatever it is you need to get done. And I will be working hard behind the scenes trying to get our desert metal mix ready. And like I said, I think maybe beginning of June, I will shuffle the new deck into my cards, and I will probably put them up for sale before then, as soon as I can figure out when I can have the metal mix, because I'd like to do a bundle pricing for you guys, those of you that buy more than just the cards. And we'll also be working on some more kits and some more critters this year. So, you know, right now I've got to kind of work with what I've got. Bead-wise, I tried to get ahead of the tariffs, you know, and I really think a lot of that's going to drop off and be okay, but we'll we have to wait and see, right? So anyways, thanks again. I'll send you some love. Yay. And thanks again for following me. Yeah, you do like the bundles. And I like to be able to give the bundle pricing, because, you know, it all works together. So they're designed to go together. So it's nice when and you can get the bundle. So, all right, thank you again for joining me. And like I said, if you catch any on the replay, please let me know you're out there. And I will finish my other earring, and I will post a picture of those. And then we will be making some tassels. This is like almost a tassel, right? So we'll be making a tassel on Thursday. So, all right, be creative, stay hanging there, and we'll see you all on Thursday. Bye.